provide proper briefing. Thank you. And I know we needed to record. And can someone in the background be muted? I'm not sure who that is.
I was muted.
So can we mute whomever that is? Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Good morning, everyone. I am Councilmember Deborah Fick Sanders. I'm the acting chair right now for CoC, and I just want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. We are a couple of minutes late, but that is okay. We promise to run as effectively and efficiently as we can this morning. So thank you for sharing this morning with us. We're going to go ahead and get started with the meeting, and you should have received in your packet the CoC mission and vision. And I'm sure that we've read it before, but I just want to kind of uh, uh, express it again as we move forward with the business at hand. So our mission is to coordinate all the community partners, systems, and resources available with the goal of helping individuals and families to prevent, divert, and end homelessness in Pinellas County. That is our mission. And our vision is to make homelessness rare, brief, and a one-time experience. And so I just wanted to reinforce our mission and our vision as we move forward, and especially with myself as acting chair, wanting to remind us of our purpose and why we're here. Again, can we mute whomever that is? Okay, sounds great. So if we would, now that the meeting has been called to order, I'm going to ask if we can go ahead with our roll call of attendance. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good. School Board Member Katie Blacksburg. Michael Creation. Dr. Monica Discolo.
I'm here.
Michael is also here. I just saw him log in.
Yeah, see his, I believe he needs to be on camera too.
I'm here.
Yeah, he's there. That's fine. He's here.
Janine Evoli.
Here.
Councilmember Deborah Fick Sanders.
I'm here.
Lieutenant Zach Haish.
I'm here.
Okay. Michael Chilazzo.
He's
I'm here, but my camera's going to be off for about 20 minutes.
we're good with that. Thanks, Mike.
Teresa Jones.
Here.
April Lott.
Here.
Ashley Lowry.
Oh, she's gonna be late. I'm sorry. She's gonna be late. She sent a text. I'm sorry. She's gonna be late.
Okay. Kevin Marone.
Here.
Jason Mathis. Sandra Newsom. Ross
Here.
Oh, okay. Ross Silver. Gary Small.
Here. Here.
Dr. Joseph Smiley. Judith Warren.
I'm here.
Okay. And that is your roll call.
That is a roll call. Okay, thank you so much for that. And thank you for everyone that has been here. And we do have a couple of people that did let us know ahead of time that they're going to be late. So that's fine. I'm going to move on really quickly to the consent agenda. And hopefully everyone has had the opportunity to review the minutes from March 6th, also with the minute summary. And if there are no questions, comments, or additions, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second, with a question, Madam Chair, did we establish quorum?
Yes, we did.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for asking. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Those
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Those opposed? We are moving on. Now we're going to move on to our item board appointments. We actually have two of reinstatement, and then we also have a new member that's going to be replacing David Morin as from the Public Defender's Office, Miss Ashley Rohrer. I know that you thought you may have been appointed next month, but we're going to move right ahead and welcome you to the family. So we do have reappointments for Commissioner Vince Nowicki and Miss Ashley Rohrer from the Public Defender's Office. The executive committee motions approval, but I'm going to ask for a motion from the floor to accept these board appointments.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in
Second.
favor? Thank you. All, and that's who, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Those opposed? Wonderful. Thank you and welcome, Ms. Aurora. And am I saying that correctly? And
It is Rora. Thank you.
Aurora. Okay, thank you so much. I need to make sure that I'm on point with that. So thank you for joining us. So now we're going to move on to our Lived Experience Advisory Committee Charter update, and that's going to come from our lead co-chairs, Gary Small and Mike Cretion. Gentlemen, are you prepared?
Well, I was not able to attend the prep meeting last month, but we did go over some of the changes that make it similar to the other charters. There's nothing major that's going to be changing in our charter, but we might be changing the structure from co-chairs to a chair and vice chair.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Gary, do you have anything that you would like to contribute on that? So as you all see on the screen that has been provided for you as to the summary of the updates, again, as Michael just shared, that there are the updates formatting to be consistent with other CoC charters, the limit voting membership to people who've lived experiences, adjust the size of the committee to allow 5 to 13 voting members instead of up to 20, requires at least 2 leak officers to review membership application, standardize the stipends to gift cards only, sets up chair and vice chair roles to align with the governance charter, adds guidance on how agenda items can be requested, and finally adds a requirement to review the charter at least every 2 years. Does anyone on the committee have any questions for Gary or Michael?
Now, we've went over it in the last few months, and everything that's on the agenda for the changes to the charter all made sense, given the size of the committee and how it's structured. So I got no problems with any of these changes, and I don't think Gary has either.
Okay, thank you for your work on this, Michael. You appreciate it. I can't see hands, so if anyone has questions, I'm going to depend on HLA to let me know who needs to speak or who has a question. And hearing no notification of this, okay, so hearing no notification of that, this is an action item for us to approve this report. Can I entertain a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Thank you so much. All in favor of the lived experiences report, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you so much. And I do see some votes also in chat. So we're going to monitor those as well. And let me know if I'm moving too fast for you guys. I move fastly. I'm trying to be efficient. But let me know if there's any questions, and I'll try to monitor the chat as well. So now we're going to move on to our HMIS annual policies and plans. And that's going to be an HLA update from Imani Smith, which is also an action item. And so we're going to turn the floor over to Ms. Smith. Good morning.
Good morning, Vice Chair. Thank
How
you so
are you?
much. I'm doing very well. Thank you,
Good.
everyone, for having me today. Happy Friday. So I am Imani Smith. I'm the manager of HMIS, or our Homeless Management Information System and System Administration. Today, I'll be going over our summary of our annual policy and procedure updates. And then, of course, I will leave it up to the board for action. So the first part of our large policy and procedure packet was, of course, that data quality plan. The data quality plan did go through a couple of changes, not so much any changes to provider workflows, provider reporting, but we did go ahead and make sure that the benchmark targets, right? And these are our data quality provider level benchmark targets, so not our system ones, but we wanted to make sure our provider level benchmark targets were updated and aligned with the most recent 2026 HUD HMIS data standards. So that included the removal of gender and the addition of sex. We also wanted to clarify timeliness as well. So instead of saying 72 hours as our expectation for entering data, we wanted to update that to 72, or excuse me, 3 business days. So that way it was a bit more clear. So those were our only big updates for our data quality plan and a couple of formatting changes. Does anyone have any questions before I move forward?
Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you. All right. So next in our packet was our privacy plan. So this is, of course, goes to protect our clients' agency, right? Their dignity, right? When we're entering their data into the database. This year or this cycle, we did not have any updates to our privacy plan or our security plan. Security plan is very similar. It again covers data breaches, different things like that, and reaffirms again about protecting and securing your workspace because of the sensitive data that we're handling. Any questions about our security plan or privacy plan?
Imani, this is April.
Hi,
Uh,
April.
good morning. Are there changes that you're anticipating coming down? I know that there was some language at some point that was suggesting that HMIS, that more people were going to have access to HMIS, either to enter data and or to review data. Do you know where some of that is? Like it was around, I think, law enforcement and perhaps others in those capacities. Do we have any update on that, or is that?
Yeah,
Or is that something we're tracking?
great question. So I know that there was a bit of concern with sharing client data, right, with our local police partners, which fortunately our CoC has a great relationship with. We do have it in our policies and procedures, our big document, which is coming up next, that, we are not sharing any confidential data unless certain protocols are followed, like a subpoena, right? And so, and I see a question as well. So yes, data is protected, right? Federally, statewide, and locally as well. Unless proper protocols are followed, like a subpoena, we will not be sharing any explicit data with law enforcement. Great question. Thank you, April.
And there was one in chat as well.
Yes, thank you, Arrow. So Arrow said they had that question too, that a lot of areas that do not have non-sworn street outreach to enter an HMIS, so that data is not included in HMIS, which is something we're tackling, right? We're always looking for new agencies and partners to come on board, and we're also working on how to best serve our smaller agencies as well, the ones who may have a couple more barriers to entering data. So definitely things that we're thinking about for sure.
I got a question, more of a suggestion. Could we have the TLDR top line double return in bold on both the privacy and security plan, and maybe the policy and procedures that we would not be sharing data unless forced to by subpoena or otherwise legally required, because there are, let's put it, the federal government doesn't care about laws or rules pretty much. We want to just make it sure, crystal clear, that it must be uh, uh, have a legal subpoena to give up data of any kind. Uh, so it makes it an assurance to both, I guess, our providers and supporters, and of course, people who are responded to PIT and all that, that the data will not be shared.
Yeah, that's a great point, Michael. We did bring this up in our Data and System Performance Committee, where it was recently updated that language to reaffirm that no data would be shared with law enforcement. We could definitely, yes, ma'am.
Imani, I just want to point out, right? So, of course, I agree with the privacy and security plans relative to those issues and the sensitivity that Michael's talking about. We're not going to solve it right now, right here, and I think it does need to be in committee. And I'm glad to hear that you're having those conversations. I think Arrow's point is the one, right, that we have to balance, which is what Arrow is saying is that we have a lot of street outreach teams, many that are paired with law enforcement and or non-sworn officers, and because of our policies, we are potentially missing some data, right? So I think we have to be mindful of perhaps crafting policy that would allow us to both ensure that data is not being misused by law enforcement, but rather that we are working in partnership with our law enforcement, who, because in Pinellas County, has taken a very active and helpful, often very helpful role in this issue, right? That we're balancing the two, that it's not being misused. I think that's going to be around policy, right? We don't want law enforcement being able to go into systems and to misuse privacy and security data. But at the same time, we want to be able to receive the information that they often have that many of us do not. So I think it needs to be in committee, but I just want to make sure that Arrow's point is also being understood.
Thank you.
Okay, and then also I see a message in chat from the HLA saying that they are working with WellSky in the app to see other options. Also, I see Michael Gelazzo's hand.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize what April said, is we actually need to track this data because that impacts the system in a negative way. And while I understand people's concerns about privacy and the clients we're working with, we have to find that balance because we have to capture this data. It affects funding and everything else. So it's just finding that right spot.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I will say with HMIS, um, our street outreach that does go out with our law enforcement, it's not like when we say like data sharing, we're saying that you can't explicitly turn your computer, right, and share HMIS with that person who does not have an HMIS license, right? Or follow the proper protocols to getting an HMIS license, which does include that level 2 background screening, right? And certain DCF HIPAA and security awareness training. And that's just because of the population of the vulnerable populations that we serve. So we are seeing those partnerships. And when it comes to data sharing, it's of course in the best interest of the client, right? We're just saying that you, unless you have that HMIS license, you can't physically see that database. But those conversations are happening, right, between law enforcement and our street outreach folks to make sure that our clients are getting the best services possible.
Okay, thank you. So does anyone else have any other questions? So Mr. Monty can move on to the security plan.
I just want to very quickly, Monty, will you speak a little bit on some of the assistance that HLA does provide to any provider who is not able to enter data in?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Cherry. So, HLA did, or HMS, excuse me, did expand to add a position that specifically serves our smaller agencies, right? Or our agencies that have barriers to entering data into HMIS, whether it is that level two background screening, case manager capacity, right? Different things like that. So, we are working with a few smaller agencies like Tarpon Springs Shepherd Center to get them onboarded and make sure that the great work they are doing is captured in HMIS. So we do have a specialized position that looks proactively looks for those partnerships, right? And looks for, any agency that is doing great work and we should capture in the database to make sure that they are supported.
Okay, I see Ms. Jones' hand. Ms.
Thank you,
Jones?
Deborah.
Uh-huh.
I have a lingering question related to what Errol brought up,
Mhm.
and that is, can you share an example? And Michael expounded on. Can you share an example where law enforcement might have data, those that are partnered with our street outreach team, that we are not capturing? If they're partnered with street outreach, I would assume the street outreach person has access to HMIS and is providing data related to someone that's experiencing homelessness that they may have encountered. I'm just trying to
Mhm.
understand the instance when law enforcement might have data that we're not capturing. I'm confused on that.
Yep. Correct, Teresa. Um, Absolutely, right? That person, the street outreach person has HMIS access, has a license, so they are able to go into the database and enter that data in real time, right? Or once they are back at their desk and within 72 or 3 business days. There we go. And I see
Hey,
Helen has a, oh, go ahead.
hey, just for clarification, I think what Teresa's asking, Teresa, like for example, the city of Pinellas Park's got Officer Copeland who does street outreach, but he rolls solo, and there is not
Mm,
a partner for
Exactly.
him. So he's doing a bunch of street outreach on his own, but he doesn't have access
Exactly.
to HMIS.
got
So
Exactly.
it.
he's
Exactly.
blind out there doing it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Real that would be one of those situations.
Yes. Thank you, Zach.
Thanks, Sax,
Um,
for the clarification.
Thank you. I did see a hand up, then it went back down. Michael, your hand is still up. Is that from the previous question? Michael Gelazzo.
Yeah, probably. I didn't realize I didn't put it down.
Okay, and now we have Miss Sandra, if I'm looking at the order correctly. Miss Newsom?
Oh, yes. Good morning, everybody. Thank
Good
you,
morning.
Councilwoman Fig Sanders. So in terms of the data, I think Teresa is absolutely correct. The question, the way I heard it, is what is the benefit? And the benefit has things that are not captured by the outreach team. So times of being arrested or incarceration as a result of being on the street. That doesn't always make it into HMIS if outreach wasn't involved in it. In one way, and that has both positive and negative, right? It tells us how homelessness is impacting the legal law enforcement and Justice Department, but it also can show how housing has decreased the impact on those departments by showing how many times people were arrested or not arrested as a result of being housed or getting support through the HLA provider network. So I think it has value. Some some areas do de-identify data to share with people outside the continuum of care that protects for confidentiality, but it does, you're able to show through changing access and coding, I think. I am certainly not the technical person, but I know that that was highly effective for us when we evaluated the impact of housing on the judicial system and the local law enforcement. So just as a suggestion to look at possibly finding a way to do that, because not every interaction with the police is accompanied by outreach. And there's a lot of good stuff that comes from that.
Thank you, Ms. Newsom, for that. I see no further hands to ask any questions, and I don't see anything else in chat. Well, I just see a group question from April. Is call entering into HMIS?
Oh, thank you for that question. I do know that we are working with one call team to get them onboarded. And again, it's one of our smaller teams, so they are working with our data workflow specialist to overcome any barriers and be assisted with that data entry.
Okay, and we did get a couple of questions in chat saying that they do not. Ms. Jones, I see your hand. Is that from the previous question?
No, it actually was related to call. And
Okay.
when I was working as a case manager at the hub, Tiana Audit, who was leading the call unit, she did have a license. She's was an employee of Gulf Coast Jewish and Family Community Services. So I don't know if she was entering or just had access to read in call. So and she's since left the agency. But that's another. I can recall when I was at the city and the city first put the contract in place with call that there was some urging to the staff from Gulf Coast to get the license, because that's another instance where data may be missing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay, I see no more hands. So, Ms. Smith, you want to go ahead now and move into the HMIS security plan?
Yeah, so our last document, security plan, again had no updates there. So I'm going to jump to our policies and procedures. So for our policies and procedures, we did want to again make sure that we are aligned with HUD language and HUD priorities, right? So we did remove any housing first language. We also wanted to standardize the password reset authority in HMIS. Also, we did update a bit of the governance alignment, right? So as far as our policies and procedures or any big items that need approval, that would first go to DSP, then go to HMIS Governance Committee, and then of course the final product brought to our CoC board for review and approval. So those were our biggest updates this cycle. Again, no real changes to data quality monitoring, client consent and confidentiality, participation requirements, nothing like that this cycle. Of course, though, right, for next cycle, if you all find or have any other suggestions, I think today was very helpful and definitely gave HMIS some things to bring back to DSP. So I definitely appreciate that. But of course, if you have any suggestions or recommendations or things of concern, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll be sure to drop my email in the chat. And I always appreciate everyone's feedback and your time today, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. You did a phenomenal job. And seeing no further hands for Ms. Smith, we appreciate you and your report. This is an action item. I'll entertain a motion to accept the coordinated entry policy and plan.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right. All right. Those opposed? And half of you still on mute, so I'm going to assume everybody is in favor. All right, so the motion passes to accept the coordinated entry policy and plan. Now, before we move on to our CoC funding and NOFO updates by HLA and our CEO, I do want to make sure that we recognize, I saw Mr. Picard actually come on, Sam Picard. I want to take this moment to thank Mr. Picard. I know this is his last board of directors meeting. I know that you will be leaving. As a matter of fact, you're on a plane. So I just want to thank you for joining us. And I don't know if anyone else wants to give their gratitude, but I could not miss this moment to know that you are on a plane, that you're leaving, but more importantly, the contributions that you made to the COC and the Pinellas County area. Please know that you are appreciated. We wish you a lot of love in your new venture, in your new journey, because you're completely leaving the area. But I just wanted to give you this opportunity. Now, I know you're on a plane, but do you have the ability to say a couple of words?
Oh, I sure do. Thank you so much, Councilmember Vic Sanders, and thank you all very much. It has been a privilege and a blessing to be a part of this community. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. We're gonna miss you, sir.
Gonna miss you, Sam.
We're
We'll
gonna
miss
miss
Gonna
you,
miss
you.
you too.
Sam.
Yes, we're
Thank
gonna
you all
miss
very
you.
much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
everything that you've done for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Best
Yes.
wishes and Godspeed.
Thank you.
If you were here, we would have a
Yes,
party.
We still have about another, I would say, a month
Sam, you can
though to
say I'm
squeeze
great friend
out.
to everybody.
Okay, well, we'll do that. We'll find some time. And then I also want to acknowledge Anne Marie Winter as well as Elise Minkoff, who will not continue to be on the board of directors, but their presence was truly appreciated. And anytime we have people going on in new journeys, we definitely want to thank them. And I know David Morin is not on this morning either. I spoke to him last night, thanking him for his service as well. So, you know, we have a tough clientele and a job to do. And so many of you all do it with such commitment and passion. And so we don't want to lose the opportunity to thank those of you all for what you do on a daily basis and making our city better. So with that being said, Sherry, wonderful segue into your COC funding and NOFO updates. I'm turning it over to you.
Okay, well, actually, and I'm going to turn it back over. Coordinated entry policy and plans. Arson Boylan, our coordinated entry manager, has some policies that have been developed. These are going to be very important. They're important to have, period, but also as we enter into the next season for NOFO. And these are policies that have not been updated in quite some time. So I'm very, very pleased that they've come forward. They've gone in front of providers and funders for input and feedback, and as well as our DV partners, Hope Villages and CASA. And so I will hand it back over to Suzanne for item number 6.
Okay, you said item number 6?
Mm-hmm.
We just voted on item number 6. So what do we?
That was 5.
Oh, I checked that off too soon. It was. Okay, I'm
You
sorry.
were
Go
very
ahead.
efficient.
Yeah, no problem. I checked it off too soon. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I am Suzanne Boylan, the Senior Manager of Coordinated Entry with the Homeless Leadership Alliance. Thank you all for having me today. I'm going to actually share my screen if that's okay with everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right, I'm hoping that worked. Are we all able to see my screen okay?
You're coming up. There you go.
All right, so we can all see okay. Thank you. All right. Again, good morning. Thank you all very much for having me. Today I'll be presenting 2 coordinated entry policy updates for hopeful board approval. The DV emergency transfer plan and the housing intervention transfer policy, which is previously known as the CE mobility transfer policy. Both of these policy updates are focused on strengthening compliance with federal requirements, improving system consistency, and addressing gaps identified in the previous policies or versions. So just from a high level, these updates really focus on 2 key areas. First, ensuring that the DV emergency transfer plan is fully aligned with VAWA requirements and support a barrier-free, survivor-centered process. And second, establishing a more structured and consistent approach to housing intervention transfers through the HIT policy. So together, these updates clarify system roles, strengthen decision making, and improve overall coordination. So these policies update the 2021 and 2022 versions. Since then, we've identified challenges related to like unclear processes, inconsistent decision making at times, and gaps in alignment with HUD and VAWA requirements. In particular, the previous policies did not clearly distinguish between pre and post housing scenarios. Particularly, this is in regards to the housing intervention transfer policy. And it has well lacked consistent criteria for transfer decisions. So these updates are intended to address those gaps and bring the system in line with current expectations. So starting with the DV emergency transfer plan, this slide highlights the key updates. So the most important shift really is that DV transfers are now fully separated from standard coordinated entry processes and are designed to be completely barrier-free. And that includes allowing verbal requests, removing documentation requirements, and ensuring transfers are immediate and safety first. The updated and proposed DV emergency transfer plan also strengthens confidentiality protections and incorporates input from local victim service providers, specifically CASA and Hope Villages of America. So the updated and proposed plan, incorporates appendices to support implementation, including safety planning resources, HUD guidance and forms, as well as a visual process flow. And this slide really just quickly provides that comparison between the previous version and the updated proposed plan for the DV emergency transfer. So again, the biggest shift is moving from a process that was not fully aligned with VAWA requirements to one that is fully compliant and truly centered on immediate safety. So previously, transfers could be, potentially delayed by CE processes, or rather, it wasn't specifically informed otherwise, right? As well as documentation expectations were a bit unclear. So now with this proposed plan, requests can be verbal, confidentiality is clearly defined. Transfers cannot be delayed. Roles are also more clearly defined, and the plan reflects input from those DV providers, as I had mentioned in that previous slide. And overall, this creates a faster, more consistent, and compliant process. And in result, this positively impacts, faster response for survivors, reduced barriers to safety, stronger compliance, right? More consistent process as well. All right, so moving along to the housing intervention transfer policy, formerly known as, again, the CE mobility transfer policy. This slide here just outlining those key changes, right? So the biggest shift to this updated policy is the introduction of a structured two-part approval process. And that means pretty much, requests must meet both a valid basis for transfer as well as eligibility for the receiving program. We've also added a standardized decision rubric that I think will be very informative and helpful for end users within our continuum of care amongst our providers. And A stabilization first requirement. So ensuring providers attempt to support the household before pursuing a transfer. Another important update is the clear separation between pre-housing and post-housing processes. So this policy applies only after a household is already housed. And finally, we've established a prioritization hierarchy. So safety first, followed by risk, and then other factors, along with an explicit VAWA exclusion and stronger focus on transparency and safeguards, which is imperative. And in my opinion, right, a gap for sure, a trending gap that was noticed within the community. All right, so as far as the comparison slide for the HIT policy updates, previously transfer criteria, it was unclear. Pre and post housing situations were often blurred, and decisions were not always consistently aligned with eligibility. So under the updated policy, we now have a structured transfer process, clear separation between that pre and post housing, right? And standardized decision making through that rubric. And approvals are now eligibility driven. So there's a clear expectation that stabilization efforts are attempted first before a household is just, submitted for a transfer to a different housing. So overall, this results in more consistent decisions, fewer inappropriate transfers, and clear expectations for providers. And the key takeaway is that we've moved from a flexible and somewhat unclear process to a more structured, defined, and consistent system. All right, so together these updates are expected to strengthen the system in a few key ways, right? So first, by improving consistency and fairness in how decisions are made. Second, by strengthening alignment with HUD and VAWA requirements, which reduces compliance risks. And third, by providing clear guidance to providers and improving coordination across the system. Ultimately, this supports better safety outcomes and stronger housing stability overall. At a high level, right, this is about making the system more consistent, more compliant, and more effective. So following hopeful approval, the next step would ultimately be implementation, and that includes provider communication, of course, guidance, and training to support a smooth transition. And the goal is to ensure providers clearly understand expectations and also feel supported as these updates are rolled out. And at this time, coordinated entry is recommended. HLA is recommending approval of both these policies to move forward, but I would love to hear any questions, input, feedback. And that's pretty much it for me.
Well, thank you so much for that, Ms. Boylan.
Thank
You ought to
you.
see my agenda has check marks and notes all over it. So I apologize for skipping over you just then, of course. So again, I do see two hands that I'm not sure who went up first, so I'm just going to go alphabetically. Amy Foster, you have a question?
Thank you, council member. Susan, I'm sure this is fine since it went through committees. I don't think the packet goes to all CoC members anymore, so I didn't get to review the language in advance, and I'm just going off of your presentation, but it feels very provider and compliance focused. You mentioned we're moving from a more flexible system to a more compliance-based system. I'm just wondering if you can share how, client choice is important and client agency matters for success in housing interventions. And so I just want to know how that is considered and the discussions that happened around that.
Yeah, absolutely. And great question. So, are you referring to the emergency transfer policy or the mobility or the formally mobility request policy?
The mobility request policy, sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay. So yes, the client choice is still, it's a policy, right? It's part of standards for coordinated entry, and that is still incorporated very much so. So there are no that is not taken away at all. If anything, the updated policy provides that opportunity for more collaboration. Between the client or the household and the provider. And there's a bit more, informed, structured language within that updated policy that really specifies that. So it may have not been conveyed from my PowerPoint, but it is very much so still embedded. And if anything, even more informed and specified within the updated policy.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Lott.
Hi, thank you. So the first thing that I want to say is just how much, just shout outs to CASA in particular, but maybe even Hope Villages of America. I don't know what their role was. I do know that CASA participated greatly in the language, and you put it in the slide, right, that the providers participated and helped that policy become very trauma informed and compliant and specific. And so I just want to say a great big thank you to CASA and to Hope Villages of America if they participated in drafting that. I was very concerned that it would be done without their input and approval. And so I think it's important for all of us to know that they have reviewed it. They've informed it even. So thank you for that. My question, though, to you, Cezanne, is with the transfer policy, can providers, can families in particular or individuals be discharged from shelters without going through the transfer policy? In other words, if it's just not a good fit, can they simply move them out of shelter without going through the transfer process?
Great question. Actually, what I wanted to ensure that this policy specifically, it was always intended to be, that's where the blurred line was, honestly. So this this housing transfer policy is specifically intended for those who are already housed, right? Through at permanent supportive housing or with permanent supportive housing, or housed and through like rapid rehousing. So it excludes actually the instances for a transfer need for families that are within shelter. And the next step actually, so you'll be seeing my faces again in the near future. I'll be working on proposing a specified transfer policy for shelters because that is not a housing transfer, right? That's more so of an interim housing transfer. So it's actually been completely like removed or like the blurred lines aren't there anymore, whereas this is intended for those who are already housed.
Okay.
Yes. That'll be upcoming soon though. And I think it's a huge necessity and it's very important and imperative for it to be outlined and specified within a policy as well.
Okay, and thank you. I see no further hands, but I want to make sure that everyone on the Zoom did receive the complete packet with all of Ms. Boylan's presentation, correct? Please let us know if you did not. Okay, seeing no further hands for questions and seeing that everyone did receive the packet, this is an action item. And I am going to ask to entertain a motion to accept Ms. Boylan's report.
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Boylan, for that presentation and your hard work on that. It's truly appreciated. So now, Ms. Sherry, I'm going to, I've removed that check so that I know that you are next in line, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Fix Sanders. So moving on to CoC funding and NOFO updates for the FY25 NOFO, that's still in litigation, and that's the NOFO that we've had multiple rounds with since November, since it dropped. But to date, HUD has moved forward to conditionally award projects that have expired during the first 2 quarters of the calendar year. And so those projects that have been conditionally awarded are for BOLI, which right now within the CoC portfolio, we have BOLI, CASA, and HLA that receive funding. And so for those projects, there are 3 permanent supportive housing and 2 shelter plus care projects. And it comes out to about $2.9 million. Now, this has been conditionally awarded, and this is part of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2026 that Congress passed and was signed into law, where when there is a lull in renewing any projects and there is no NOFO released, and in order to not hold up the process, then HUD is to award these contracts for another year. However, none of the contracts have been executed to my knowledge. And I don't believe I've been asking other CoCs everywhere, throughout the state especially, and also in the country, and I have not heard of a single one yet. So we are keeping an eye on that. For the FY26 NOFO, so we do have some interesting news around that, some forecasts that came through from HUD that it will most likely be released by June 1st. We're thinking like days before June 1st, the very, very end of May, and that it will run through August. This, of course, is a forecast provided by HUD, but it's promising in that it's a little bit early for us, of course, than it is earlier than typical, but running through August would be helpful. The other thing is that the tier 1, that non-competitive portion that usually is 90 to 100%, in the past has been up to that much, 90% that is less competitive and more CoC focused, like local focus. What this local body decides are the projects that are most needed in order to fill gaps that we have here. That cap during the FY25 NOFOs was at 30%. So it left 70% up to competition against other CoCs across the nation. And right now, because of that Consolidated Appropriations Act, the cap can be no less than 60%. So that is some good news. Not as great as what we've had in the past, but better. And for the FY26 NOFO, the HUD priorities fall under 3 main buckets. They're going to be self-sufficiency, access to treatment recovery services, and public safety and collaboration with law enforcement, which, as Amani said earlier, we do have excellent relationships with law enforcement, and we intend to deepen those too. And then finally, I want to say we have want to start a regularly occurring, like quarterly, open office hours around HUD funding or other CoC funding opportunities. And our first one that we're going to kick off with is going to be on May 21st. It's on the community calendar, but you will be receiving an email blast through Constant Contact on this as soon as we get a Zoom link ready. There'll be a virtual session to prepare for this next NOFO. And it'll give time for new projects to come in and just get a nice overview of what the whole process looks like, what project types are eligible, and anything that will help strengthen an application going into this next round. And then we'll move on to any questions around that? Kevin.
Not really any questions, but I talking about the current NOFO without, again, recognizing Karen from the county, Commissioner Nowicki, Janine from JWB for, providing gap funding for the permanent supportive housing. I just couldn't, I would be remiss without acknowledging it, because right now there'd be 400 households homeless on the streets without that, because these are the operating dollars for all of this housing that we're still without from HUD. I know hopefully we're getting those contracts in the next couple of months, but those opportunities are really sustaining these households in housing right now. So just wanted to give thanks for that.
Thank you, Kevin.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Kevin. So for legislative and policy updates, if you've been watching the Florida State budget process, there's a special session on the budget has been called for May 12th to May 29th. And so the state Senate and House at least came together on a number. And so they were able to move forward. On the federal side, there are several HUD proposed policy changes that are underway. None are bills or regulations yet, but they are working their way through the pipeline. And so restrictions on mixed status households, that has to do with immigration status and families living together who may have some members of their household who do not have citizenship or eligible immigration status. And so that could affect housing assistance for the entire family. Changes to eviction notice requirements for non-payment of rent. This is a rollback to pre-COVID era times. Another one has to do with work requirements and term limits for housing assistance. There's a lot of discussion around a 2-year limit to housing assistance from the federal government. This, though, what is moving forward is an optional work requirement where public housing authorities can impose those requirements up to 40 hours a week of work and establish term limits for houses receiving assistance. And it's for specific housing, so for individuals who do not have disabilities or long-term physical needs or who are not elderly. And then the executive federal fiscal year 27 budget proposal. It's very preliminary and subject to congressional appropriations process, but it was submitted and it mirrors what was submitted last year, which would take CoC funding and turn it into state block grants that are for ESG. So that's emergency solutions grants, more short term. It goes along with the priorities that HUD has been establishing this past year to really focus on street homelessness over longer term permanent housing. But I want to end on a good note, something to watch, the Road to Housing Act that the Senate passed 89-10 back in March. It's back in the House and still being negotiated. And it's the first major federal housing reform package in decades, an attempt to increase housing supply, reduce costs, and potentially curb corporate ownership of single family homes, which does impact rents for sure. Any questions on or any other updates for legislatively or policy-wise that anyone has heard that you'd like to share?
I don't see any hands. Okay, well, thank you so much for that, Sherry. And if you all do hear of anything that you think that's critical to CoC, please don't hesitate to reach out to Sherry just to have that conversation with her. And we will find a way to make sure that we keep everyone abreast as to things that we are hearing, especially since our next meeting isn't scheduled until July. So we want to make sure that we keep everybody current with what's going on in the state of the world today. So thank you for that report, Sherry. So now we're going to move into our governance updates. And per our November 10th membership meeting, there was a discussion in regards to a nominating committee. And that nominating committee would be responsible for identifying potential board members, recruitment, and vetting nominations. And so I'm not sure if everyone had the opportunity to look at the attachment, but we're going to go through some of the information in regarding the nominating committee. So as you see, the purpose of the nominating committee is to identify, vet, and recommend qualified candidates for service on the CoC. It is established by operating under the authority of the CoC Executive Committee in alignment with the governance charter. Its scope is that the committee is responsible for board recruitment and nominations only. It does not engage in broader governance, policy development, or board management functions. And as you see, the core activities, if you can move that up some, or better yet, I can read it here. It's to identify current and upcoming board vacancies, assess gaps in board composition, source and recruit qualified candidates, conduct initial screenings for eligibility, fit, conflicts of interest, and commitment, coordinate vetting as needed, and submit a slate of qualified candidates presented to the CoC membership for election in accordance with the governance charter and established election process. So some of the eligibility criteria for the board candidates is that you must have a minimum 2-year term, commit to 2 years term, and that's to prevent a lot of turnover and lost knowledge, as well as be an active CoC member for at least 2 years, and have demonstrated engagement through participation on at least one CoC committee for at least 1 year. And as far as the membership is concerned, it is proposed that members are appointed by the executive committee and that the executive committee determines size, composition, and striving for a broader representation of the CoC. And so I will entertain any questions in regards to that. It's not that this is an action item, but this is something that we wanted to address that came from the membership committee. And I'm not sure if anyone on the membership committee would like to expound on this particular item or if you have any questions in regards. Y'all are quiet today. Anyone have any questions regarding the nominating committee? Anybody interested in joining the nominating committee?
I was going to say, Chair Fix-Sanders, are we doing a call?
We're going to do a call. I mean, because
Okay.
because this is the first time we've actually presented this from the membership committee, and I don't have a list in front of me as to who's on the membership committee. Is anyone from the membership committee that's on the call today?
I believe so. It was shared. The idea was that this would be shared with the general membership at the general membership meeting on April 14th. And so now a form will be going out, or a call for volunteers or interest will be going out to everyone who serves on the board and in a committee who would meet these criteria, basically, and to respond back, and then we'll bring that to the executive committee.
Okay, so please know everybody, those that are interested, we would love to have you because we want to grow the consensus as well as the strength of the CoC in providing this service. So thank you to the membership committee for this recommendation and for the selection of the criteria in which were presented here today. So Michael Gelazzo, I see your hand.
I'm just offering to serve.
Yay.
Commissioner Nowicki has offered to serve as well.
Yay. All right, so that's 2.
This is Judith. I'm happy to help as well.
Yay. We're making sure we write this down. You all hear it. So we have 3 volunteers. Looking forward to it. And so we will definitely follow up. We have the executive committee meeting today at noon. And so I'll get further instructions from Sherry as to how we're going to move forward with this. But we do have 3 willing volunteers, and I really do appreciate that. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So now moving on, because I'm looking to make sure that I don't miss a hand. Okay, so now moving on, we're going to go back to Sherry in regards to the lead agency updates.
Thank you. Yes, I was giving myself a break there. So for HLA updates for CoC reporting and compliance, this goes back to the MOU, and I want to make sure that we're touching on that and being very clear on how things are going. So the point in time and the housing inventory count, Pitt and Hick, both reports have been submitted to DCF and HUD on time, and all required reporting has met deadlines or are on track for the year. And this is not, so when I say the Pitt report is reporting, it's all the data has to be sent up. It's not the same as the Pitt report that I'll be talking about in a few moments. CoC program monitoring is well underway. It's about a 3-month long season. HLA monitors every CoC funded project that HUD receives HUD funding through the CoC. So HUD directly contracts with the provider. I just want to make that very clear. Money and management does not pass through the HLA as lead agency, but we do go out and monitor. And then we're also going to begin monitoring for the subrecipients, subcontractors for the DCF funds, the Unified Homelessness Grants. All of that will be completed by July. We will be having site visits and interviews scheduled already in May. So starting next week, we'll be with CASA and then following that with BOLI. Coordinated entry and HMIS. Pinellas Coordinated Entry and the entire Pinellas CoC was recognized by Built for Zero during a town hall for its having significant decreases in veteran and family homelessness. That was data that they had been collecting over a period of time. Our HMIS team and our coordinated entry staff do continue to get a lot of support and learning from and participation with Built for Zero. And so that was very good national shout out, actually. Our HMIS team was invited to present in a national conference on the WellSky shelter app that gives real-time information on shelter availability, or as real-time as can be expected. We always, of course, with street outreach workers, ask them to make a call before sending someone to a shelter, just to make sure that no one's in the waiting room or in process. But that's very exciting. And also, if someone on my team can put the link, I know you all have access to it, of Imani Smith presenting at a WellSky webinar. She was asked to do that as well. It was a national webinar. She was the primary speaker for, I believe, it was a full hour, and talking to other HMIS and groups and other COCs about the innovative use of this application to work with street outreach and to get folks into emergency shelter as quickly as possible. And they're working on that, I'm sure. I would really, really encourage everyone to watch that. If you have any questions about HMIS or what's involved in getting data reports, it was very interesting to just get into not too far into the weeds, but just enough to understand all the work behind the scenes that takes place to get quality, good information.
Someone just put it in the chat.
Thank you. She did a fantastic job. Very proud of her for this. It was an honor to be asked to present. So thank you, Imani. Strategic planning. We have contracted with our consultant, Stephen Ferrante, who was mentioned by Sandra and Anne Marie Winter a couple months ago. And so that work is well underway. The work group has been established, has already launched. They're going to be meeting once each month. So we had our April launch. There will be a 4-hour session in May and then another one in June for action planning. And right now, also be expecting to have in your inbox a survey being sent out within the next few days. So there will be an email blast and to complete a surveys for both people with lived experience and people who are receiving services, homeless services, as well as all other stakeholders too. So there will be an option to take one or the other survey. And the plan is to have that all finalized by June so that there will be a good strategic plan to propose to the board during July's meeting. And then we can send that up, our CoC plan, to DCF on time. Finally, the PIT report. So this is the actual full-on analysis and recommendations that we've worked with Dr. Gerhardt in the past, who is the author. We are contracting with him again. We have established weekly meeting schedule. He works with our HMIS team and our program staff to make sure that everything is that we're all reading, and we're in multiple brains in the room, and so different perspectives are coming to the table. But he is now he has the clean data, and he is working on that report. And like last year, I know last year we opened it up to if anyone had questions that they wanted to raise ahead of the report's release or presentation to the board, or had input on how to make it more digestible and useful for your purposes, then we will. It is open. He is available to speak one-on-one or as a group. We can schedule a actual group meeting coming up fairly soon. He does have a pretty tight timeline, so we'll be having that in May, that May availability. But if you have any questions and you want to contact him, please feel free to reach out to me and I will make that happen.
All right. Well, thank you, Sherry. Does anyone have any questions or comments in regards to the lead agency update?
Question, is the PIT report, when it's done, is that going to be a virtual meeting, or are we going to have a live in-person meeting going over the PIT report like we did last year?
Well, right now, so the board has voted to have these meetings virtually, and so if it was to take place during a board meeting, it would be virtual. There are other places where the PIT report also gets reported on. So in front of the various municipalities who welcome us to come report, and other community organizations and associations that request it as well. That is something we can talk more about.
Okay, thank you, Michael, for that question. I see no further requests to speak. Thank you so much, Sherry, for those updates. So now we're going to move on to item 11, our council and committee reports. And we're going to start now with our advocacy committee, Ms. Chair Esther Sani. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Chair. I am not going to go verbatim through this report. I am quite certain that everyone has the ability or had the opportunity to review it, but there are some key things that I do want to touch on, and also recognizing that Sherry has touched on some of those items as well. So as you will see, our previous chair, Beckman, did step down. During this meeting, I was unanimously approved to chair the advocacy committee. Anne Marie Winter at the time was going to vice chair, but most recently she has stepped down as well. And so we are moving forward just with the note that advocacy is probably one of the key things that we need to be very intentional with in current climate, and just also awareness. And so the updates are as stated. I do believe Sherry touched on the NOFO update already, so I won't go into that, just with the understanding that there should be a new one summer of 2026 upcoming. Legislative policy updates, they are listed: hospital discharge practice, funder provider collaboration, state budget, housing bills. Just as a point for the hospital discharge practice, we are setting a summer roundtable with the hospital CEOs and Senator Roussan. So additional information forthcoming on that. State budget, housing bill, city budget concerns. There is a recognized and projected budget shortfall for the city of St. Pete to the tune of $18 million. And so that may have create some challenges for program funding, in particular our rapid rehousing funding. So making sure that we keep a pigeonhole eye on what's taking place there. House Bill 197, which is a direct focus on immigration, and recognizing how that will create restrictions for the immigrant population, banking, hiring, and with an expansion into housing as well. HUD citizenship verification, we know that that was released, and so our local housing authorities are now required to do immediate citizen verification. And that can raise levels of concerns for compliance. We did have some conversations independently with some of our non-housing authority properties, but those properties that receive HUD funding, and they also are mandated to honor this citizen verification as well. And so we're expanding the funders network. What does that look like? Discussions on the re-engaging of local foundations, and then preparing funders ahead for the local budget cycles. Um, Links of our meetings provided. Action follow-ups. We recognize that quarterly meetings are insufficient for us, and so we are planning smaller subcommittees, and we will then develop from those subcommittees a more frequent work plan. We reached out to the advisor committee asking for volunteers as needed. And then, the actions and follow ups are listed. I won't do a verbatim, but please note that we are approaching what we know is a very important and intentional committee in the work that we're doing, both within our local HLA, but also the broader Pinellas County area. And so just keeping a real close bird's eye view on what's taking place. Our next meeting is scheduled for June the 28th. And so, I'm sorry, May 4th, next Monday. And so if you have a desire to join us, please feel free to. And
Okay,
Sherry, I hope I covered everything. I went as fast as possible because I know that Councilmember Fig Sanders does not play with time.
Thank you so much for that. May 4th. So you still need a co-chair, right?
I do need a co-chair.
Okay, so we're going to entertain having a co-chair, and I would love to participate, especially on this one. And then I would love to provide good news that the city budget concern is not 17 or 18 million now. We've actually gotten it down to 5. So
oh God, yes, yes.
So we're working to sustain the level of service that we are hopeful to provide. So thank you so much for that, Chair Sani, on that
Absolutely.
report. So now we're going to move on to our data and system performance. That would be Chair Sam, and I would hate to ask him to try to do this from a plane. Did he send another representative for that committee to provide a report? Because he is still on.
He's
still on, but are you available to do it from the plane?
Yeah, sure. I can.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm off the plane. I'm into a rental car today.
Oh,
so.
okay. So you
much
can keep it moving.
easier.
I like that.
Absolutely. Okay. That's it.
All right. Thank you. Now that's commitment. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's why we're gonna miss you. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Missed all this fun for sure.
Yes.
So a lot of what we did in our last meeting was talking about benchmarks, just ensuring they're in place. You all have heard this from me way too often. We used the current benchmarks for the last 2 years to give us some consistency, which is great. That period's coming up to an end. So now we're going to take another look, make sure our benchmarks are measuring our projects the way they need to in preparation for a NOFO. As we've talked about some during this meeting, we don't really know what to expect from HUD entirely. So we're trying to hedge our bets in terms of what's going to keep us safe when we go for bidding. That conversation is continuing. We had a small work group meet earlier this week to bring back recommendations to the next DSP meeting. Otherwise, we've been following the great work from staff, especially Imani, working on reporting and those pieces of the puzzle. Otherwise, we've made a couple of recent changes to our dashboard. Please do look at those dashboards. They're always available, and I'll say the best way to get to know the data is by just playing around in the dashboard a little yourself to just really absorb how our neighbors are experiencing homelessness. Other than that, we've got some goals going, and I'll say I'm really excited because my last meeting with the committee will be next month, but we're really well set up for the future for committee leadership. Susie Patterson, who many of us know from some prior work with the CoC and for her work with the Foundation for Healthy St. Pete, has agreed to chair the committee going forward. And Ms. Helen Rhymes from the City of St. Pete is going to continue in her extremely able role as vice chair. She brings just expertise with running meetings and a deep knowledge of everything in our community around homeless services. So really excited for that leadership structure going forward. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much for that. And I don't see any hands raised for questions, other than we are going to allow you to get to your day because you have gotten on a plane and you're in a rental car and you are still hanging in here with us. So we do appreciate you for that. And we're glad to know that we have you for at least one more meeting. So we're going to go ahead and give you back your day, Mr. McCarr. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chair.
So now we're going to move on to our Funders Council, our chair, Ms. Sandra Newsom, and our vice chair, Ms. Errol Woodard. Are you ladies ready?
Yeah, because it's super quick. We don't have an update from the last board meeting, and we will after we are all meeting in person on May 15th. So you'll have more of an update on the next board meeting. That's it. Thank you.
That works for me.
All righty.
That works for me. Thank you so much for that. So now we're also going to move on next to our Lived Experience Advisory Committee. We have co-chairs Michael and Gary Small.
Well, I'm here. The last meeting we had, like I said at the top, we had Ross from the PSCA, and I made a particularly note in the technology of the transportation disadvantage program they have. That's still only $11 if you qualify. And last time I used it 10 years ago was $7.50, so a month. So I appreciated that they kept the cost down to people who need it and can really afford it. As that's the name of the game with the price of everything going up. I found that I'm a very helpful sign. And I made a note, I'm getting free bus on and off because I'm a student at SBC. And I see a lot of people using that. But I do I appreciate how some of the organizations we're working with, PCA being one of them, is keeping costs low for members of our community who have lived experience who may not have positions part-time or full-time jobs, and even then it's always tough. And we're always emphasizing at our meetings any new resources for people, for food banks, things of that nature. And I noted in my own community up in Clearwater, there's a house on a corner that has a community food closet so people can donate and take whatever food they need. The last time I passed by, someone put in about 12 MRE packs, and I thought that was cool. I tried ones that are also useful. I do wish if I can get them cheap enough, I would probably stock it. But the point is that we need the resources because costs are going out of control for everything. And the PSCA getting to places and from places is important because this is the car-central culture. And even though it takes 2 hours sometimes, which I'll be doing next week, actually an hour and a half to get to St. Anthony's Hospital for a tooth extraction, it'll still be worth it because it's no costs and they're reasonably on time for just about every stop. So that's the updates I have, unless Gary has anything further.
Gary just put in the chat that he must regrettably rely on Michael due to his voice issues today. So he would love to join you and comment. And I did get your message, Gary. So thank you. We appreciate you. And Michael, thank you for that unpaid PSTA solicitation that you provided for PSTA. And I'm glad to hear that. And I want to talk to you a little bit more offline in regards to how we can try to find ways to improve our service, especially for those 2-hour trips. So I do appreciate that. I don't see any other hands for Michael, in regards to the lived experience report? Seeing none, again, thank you so much for that, Michael, and I'll talk to you a little bit later offline. We're going to now move on to our Providers Council, and the chair of that is Kevin Marone, to provide us an update.
Good morning, everyone. Actually, the Provider Council meeting for February 20th, I believe we actually already reported out on that. It was our last meeting was actually our joint Provider Funder Council meeting, which was April 17th. And probably the most exciting part of that meeting was we welcomed, for almost 2 years without a finance chair, we welcomed Sandra Newsom as our finance chair. We talked about and reviewed a lot of the things that we discussed here already at the CoC board meeting as related to updates on the NOFA, our strategic planning process, and really reviewed some of the coordinated entry policy updates. I would say the bulk of the meeting centered around our local funding inventory. This is a project we've been, working on for quite some time, and I think we made a lot of really good progress in the sharing of resources and ideas and consolidation towards those efforts. We also formed a joint work group to align the Provider Council and Funder Council charters so that they're more in sync, and work is still continuing in on those. Anyone else, Sandra, or anyone else on the meeting? Have I missed anything critical or important? April?
No, Kevin, thank you though, because apparently I missed a few things that I could have updated. So thank you. That's my newness to this role.
And your newness is welcome. So thank you. So that's it, Kevin. I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
There's no other questions. That's it.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Thank you. And I see no hands for comment or questions for the Providers Council update. So moving on with that, and thank you everybody for the committee reports. And as you all see, that a lot of the work is done in the committees, and all of these committees are extremely, extremely important. And so we're going to continue to ask for your commitment. We're going to continue to ask for those who that would like to be active in these committees to please join us, because we want to make sure that the work is actually getting done. And that we're not overtaxing the same members of CoC, but that this be a collaborative effort for our homeless community. So now we're going to move into our next item, which is our open discussion. Does anyone want to share for a couple of minutes any success stories that they would like to share with the body?
I have a success story.
Please.
So we had a gentleman who has been chronically homeless for a very long time, living with a persistent mental illness, frequently sleeping on the front porch at Directions for Living's Clearwater Center. We have worked tirelessly to engage with this gentleman, to engage with his family, and a variety of other things. And recently, we worked in partnership with Kevin and his team at the Safe Haven, and I just am so thrilled to report that he is doing so well. He has only left Safe Haven one time to return to the Clearwater Center to sleep on the front porch after a conflict. We were able to resolve that conflict and get him back to Safe Haven. He's attending groups. He's just doing exceptionally well. So I just want to say publicly how grateful I am to our partners and to our partnerships, to BOLI in particular, Kevin, Safe Haven, just the work that's done among and between our providers, which we just simply don't celebrate enough, really does change lives in an incredible way. So I am grateful and just thrilled to share that with you.
Thank you, April, for that. Miss Sandra.
Thank you.
Miss Sandra, I see your hand up, but you're still muted.
I was clapping.
Oh, okay.
I look forward to sharing the update on that April when he's moving into his first apartment.
Well, thank you for that. Okay, so I see no more hands, and I'm trying to stay on it. Hopefully, I'm doing a better job of monitoring that. Does anyone have any Okay, I see Miss Helen's hand. Helen, you're still on mute. Okay, I see her hand, but she's on mute, so I don't
I'm
know.
sorry. You would think I would be ready to work this phone by now, but something's not working here. I'm
That
so
is
sorry.
okay.
Actually, I had raised it for the announcements part of it. I was trying to get ahead of you.
No, you're right on time. Go ahead.
Um,
You're our first one.
so just wanted to make an announcement that social action funding for the city of St. Petersburg will open Monday, May 4th. It'll be on a new platform, and we'll have our bidders and technical workshop on May 14th.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay, you all are doing a whole lot of work and you have a whole lot going on. We have no other announcements. Errol, I see your hand up. Do you have an announcement?
I was just gonna say, just want to let the board know that we have started convening the frontline street outreach folks from throughout the county. We've had 2 meetings now to help them coordinate both on resources, had, different strategies with different clients they work with and so forth. And it's become quite a sizable group already. So it was really good to help kind of connect them to each other as well and help discuss best practices. So that's planning to continue on for the months to come.
Okay, thank you so much. No more announcements. Do we have any public comment? Okay, let me see. No public comment.
No, I got a public comment. I appreciate you stepping in as chair for Kathleen, and hopefully we can acknowledge her contribution sometime in the future. But it's going to be very difficult next 6 months, I think. We have the new NOFO thing coming out. We have the changes to the HUD coming out. And I know we hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. But like I said 2 years ago, so far so good. So hopefully this summer there'll be changes coming, and hopefully it won't be too drastic.
You know what? But we're built for this. We're built for this. Things are fine. The thing that it is, as long as you keep the mission and the purpose in the front, keep the main thing, the main thing, everything is gonna work out. So, Michael, thank you so much for that. I do, appreciate that because we have a job to do and we're gonna do it, and we can't be distracted. Mr. Gelazzo.
Yeah, I want to actually thank you for your willingness to step into the leadership on this because it's a lot. And, and to reemphasize what Esther said, anyone who hasn't worked with my esteemed friend Deborah Fig Sanders will realize that she doesn't mess around and we get to work and we get the work done. So I appreciate your willingness to step into the leadership role, even on an interim basis. And I just look forward for us to continue to get the work done. So this is going to be a tough time, like Michael said, and I personally will echo the sentiment of a lot of people who are very glad that you're in this role during this time. So just thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate all of that again because we are, as I say, we are going to get through this. We're built for this. We're made for this. And we know the difference that we want to make in our community. And so we won't be sidetracked. We won't be distracted, because we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do, and we're going to continue to move forward with the best interests of our unhoused and our families and the social services that we're trying to provide for our constituents in Pinellas County. I do see one more hand, Miss Loyana.
I was trying to clap. I wasn't trying to raise my hand. I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll do this. Because I was trying to clap too and I raised my hand. We'll get this Zoom thing down after 5 years. How long have we been doing Zoom now? Okay, but we'll get it down. So I see no further hands, no other requests to speak. And today was a really good day. And we're going to continue to make it a good day intentionally. And with that, before we adjourn, please mark your calendar. You'll get your updates. Our next meeting is July 10th, same place, same time. Okay, everybody. Now, I do have a quick question for our executive committee before we get off. I know we're not scheduled until noon. Can we meet at 11? Okay, okay, so we'll do executive committee meeting at 11. And of course, as all committee meetings are, we're going to hopefully be as efficient on that call as well. So thank you all. We're going to give you back your Friday and have a fantastic day.
Have a great
Thank you. Have a great
Take care.
weekend.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.